So there's a lot of like really cool relationships on this show, which is one of the best parts about watching it. Like you have a relationship with Scott Wilson's character, you have a relationship with both of them. Is there one in particular that you're really excited for fans to experience as the series progresses?
No, there's never one in particular. I think saying variety is the spice of life. One of the great joys of turning up on set every day is that I thoroughly enjoyed when I woke up in the morning because I knew I got to go to set, and a big part of that was just knowing that I was going to go and work with the cast that we have.
It's a great cast.
Yeah, it was fun.
No stinkers in the bunch.
No, not at all. Yeah, so all the relationships, whether they get a lot more attention or maybe not quite so much, it was always a joy to investigate those and see whether.
Also, Glenn's scripts were so good that everybody was very turned on. All the actors were really excited because we were all given great things to act, So everybody was happy.
I hear there's some pranks happening on set.
Oh, you heard that, did you?
Yeah.
Who'd you hear that from?
I don't want to be a snitch, but...
Be a snitch. Be a snitch.
Did you guys get involved in the pranks at all?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't either.
Think about an
What things? What?
And some gummy bears.
Someone died, almost died.
Someone was foaming at the mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Omid, how deep into this story did you go?
The gummy bears.
Pretty much everything.
The last scene? What are you talking about? Oh, you
The
talking
gummy
about the
bears.
prank?
Yeah.
Oh, I gave him like the 45 seconds.
Right, okay. Which was what?
That's pretty much the whole thing.
It was pretty much the whole thing. A prank happened. Well, it was probably the most notorious. It was probably the most notorious thanks to Brian, our makeup artist, screaming across base camp, drawing everybody's attention to it. It's a relatively long story, which I think will get explained in the behind the scenes at some stage. Because we sat there talking about it for yeah. We drew diagrams. There was we acted it out. It was there was.
You drew diagrams?
Being facetious and ridiculous.
Very little.
I would say that the atmosphere on set was because having mentioned the cast being great, there was room for just playfulness and fun, and so pranks ensued.
Was it something that being like that, ridiculous, and to have jokes and pranks, was something really essential for for this kind of thing? Since your role is so dark.
Well, I think when you work together with people for a prolonged period of time, you have to have a
You get silly.
welcoming environment. Yeah, a welcoming environment to work in, and that is sort of something that tends to follow me around. Is foolish behaviour. So I dare say there's probably a job where that's not at all appropriate. But I think just because of the nature of the cast and their ability to separate whatever it was we were shooting that day, it left room for that creation of that environment. But it wasn't pranks all the time. It wasn't like, right, what should I do today? Yeah, it was just every now and then.
Mel Gibson's set, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that you're playing, the Antichrist, I mean, does it affect you, or you just, turn off that?
I think whenever you play a character, you're affected by it. You learn lessons from it, and you have to delve into a part of yourself that lends itself to that character. And in Damien's case, I haven't found a less crass word than darkness, but I'll go with it again. In Damien's case, he has that darkness as we all at this table have within us. We have something in us that we have to keep down. We don't tell people about. We have thoughts that we go, God, if anyone heard that, I'd be in trouble. And so there's the cathartic opportunity to explore that within yourself and then use it for this role. So yeah, it has an effect in the sense that you get that opportunity to explore yourself and identify things within yourself, just make them that little bit clearer, I suppose.
But you still have like a moral compass, like your character does. Like we see it when he saves the boy on the train instead of going after the guy that he wants to do damage to. So is that something we're going to see Damien struggle with as the series goes on, like that touchstone of like the goodness that's still like, you know?
Well, I mean, Glenn's been very clever. You could easily just do a show about the Antichrist and he just turns up and he's like, bah, I'm evil. It'd be, and people would be like, oh, that was interesting for a couple episodes, done. Not the case. Glenn's essentially showing what is a very honest journey through some, horrendous circumstances. And so, say Damien is a human being, he's multifaceted in terms of how he responds and reacts, but it just gets harder for him because he has baggage that no one else has, and that darkness is kind of closing in around him. Again, I use the word darkness, I've got to find a better word, but
I don't know, that's a good one.
It's closing in on him, making it tougher to have those moments where he can just make the easy, good decision, or what is perceived as a good decision. You mentioned the boy on the tracks.
Yeah.
Who's to say he's not going to turn out to be Hitler 2.0?
That is a good point.
Season 2.
Every story.
Yeah.
This question is for Ms. Hershey. I'm a big fan of your films, and I'm just wondering what drew you to this role, because one of the first films I saw you in was The Last Temptation of Christ, and now you're in this about the Antichrist. So I'm just wondering what drew you to this particular role and what made you want to be a part of this cast?
The writing, and after talking to Glenn, and I got excited about it, and also the characters seemed to have a lot of different colors. There seemed to be a lot of variety and a lot of things going on under the surface. I also liked that the thing was reality-based, not stunt-based, not, out there, that it was, I thought you'd care about the people more and care about what happens and therefore be more exciting and frightening when you do see it. I also was fascinated with the idea of what would you do if you found out you were the Antichrist? At this age, what would you do? And one of the best answers I got was from a friend who said, I'd be so relieved. But
That was me.
yeah. But it just, and I think his character is, about all of us really, like Bradley was saying, the good and bad inside of all of us, the war that he has, we all have. It's just a little heightened in his case.
Yeah.
But I liked all of those things, and it gets into that too. It gets into like what was presented to us as good and evil, and what really is. Can you fight your destiny? I think there's a lot of really fascinating questions.
Thank you.
What do you think sorry. You want to go? Sure. What do you think the biggest misconception about your character is?
That is just one thing. You get asked a lot about him. People say,
The
is this
cartoon.
evil character, blah, blah, and people expect it to be, a cartoon.
Yeah.
They don't sort of... television, I was saying earlier that television, or audiences are demanding more from characters in television these days. It's the golden age. Your bumper sticker right there, Walter White, has so many, different colours to his palette, in the sense that, would you say he was good? Would you say he was evil? He's had good moments, he's had evil moments, but he's a human being, and he's, and all of us have made decisions that we're probably not proud of in life, and something's happened where, I could have made a better choice. That's how you learn, obviously, in life, hopefully. And that's the biggest misconception, is a lot of people go, right, it's the Antichrist, I want it to be like this, and maybe he will be like that one day, but we're sort of, Glenn's mapping out that journey, and it starts with us, who we are.
So, Robert, I want to say, you really nailed this character. I've really enjoyed watching your performances in this show, and I was talking to my editor before I came here about what really struck with us, and what we came up with is that you just feel really natural. Like you feel like a part of this world. And I want to know, how did you go about molding your acting style of how you portrayed the character, you know, the words on the page to make it feel that way?
Well, that's the challenge of acting, is to try to get to something real. In every single thing I do, that you do, Bradley's very natural. You try to come to something where it's happening to you instead of you making it happen. And that happens sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. And purely it's the writing, you know, that's the door in, and then you try to find, because I think everybody's inside of us, if we're willing to admit it, to find that part of you, so that it's not really acting anymore. You're actually there.
Are we going to get more of Anne's backstory as the series progresses? Because she's so interesting.
Thank you. Not in this first 10. But you get little snippets, you get little hints about her here and there. But you know, most of this first 10 is.
Sorry about that.
You know, and Bradley, there's so many other depictions, not only in other media and other shows about the Antichrist, but also, you know, you have this film series. And I know that we're only going based off of the first film, but how do you go about making your character unique from an acting standpoint? How do you approach the role?
You can't go about sort of aiming specifically for being unique. You can go about finding truth. And Glen's writing as well, you can go about sort of looking out for projects that have good writing. And that's what drew me to it. And the challenge is to find the truth that I can embody and you know, put on screen. And a lot of that, as Barbara says, is that thing of delving into yourself a lot of the time and you know, finding those nuggets at the bottom of the ocean, those pearls at the bottom of the ocean that sort of encapsulate what you're reading, and you can go, oh, I can use that, I can use that, I can use that, blah, you know. And if it comes across as unique, it's maybe a symptom, a bonus, I suppose.
It's the writing, I think.
Yeah.
You know, it's Glen's his ideas. Because as I was reading the script, I'm sure it happened to you, as I would get the scripts and read them, I didn't know where they were going. I was surprised all the time that the images of our preconceptions of what Antichrist comes to your brain, or the word Damien comes to your brain. We all have these set images. But if you let yourself loose of that, and he's writing a character that is encompasses a lot, then it's really exciting.
Awesome. In your opinion, what do you think what's the appeal of the horror genre, like on TV or, you know, movies?
I don't know if I could broad stroke it quite as much as that. I'd say with Damien, the appeal, I think, is more what it makes your mind do, or certainly the Omen, and I think
We're more psychological terror, psychological, you know, with horror edges, really, more than a horror, you know, that in terms of that. I think it's a part of human beings, again, you know, cavemen and women. I mean, it's built into us. And here, we, you know, to deal with fear. And it sort of creates this false world where you're frightened, but it's not going to hurt you. And so it's kind of, I think, very enjoyable on that primal level, where you get to feel those things, but you're safe.
Another boundary, if you will, in life, in terms of, you know, you'll occasionally look for pushing those boundaries, like going on a roller coaster or something.
Right, same thing.
Bungee jumping, like, there's a physical ideas of it, but in terms of the horror genre, like, you're pushing that boundary of your fears.
Satisfying.
I think Black Swan is like the crossover in the movie. It's not a horror movie, but
but it's
a lot of horror.
Some of the scariest films I've seen
are
not
not
particularly
horror
horror
movies.
films. There's a film, Mads Mikkelsen did a film called The Hunt.
I love that movie. Yeah.
It's the scariest film I've ever seen.
Oh, I have to
because
see it.
you put yourself in that situation, you go, how on earth you get out of
Paranoia
this?
and
It's the scariest film I've ever seen. It's got nothing to do with horror.
Wow.
Thomas Vinterberg, the director.
Barbara Ann there's so many motivations behind her character. You can't really pinpoint it. Do you think she's actually trying to fulfill God's plan by bringing forth the Antichrist like in Revelations, or is there other things going on?
I don't think. I don't think, like she says in the last episode, it's not God, it's something else. She's not fulfilling God's plan. But it's the same thing as someone who wants to fulfill God's plan, except it happens to be the other side. But she has a whole belief system in her world. She's absolutely as passionate and dedicated and religious as someone on the other side would be.
Thank you.